go out on the Western Pizza guest hotline. We're joined by color commentator here on our broadcast tomorrow for the Stamps and Rider game, Luc Mullinder in Calgary, Alberta, situated at the hotel, doing all his prep work, getting his work done. Luc, are you going back to the first game against these two teams and expecting the same, or was it because it was such a weird game played the next day, you stayed up till midnight, all that? Are you expecting the same? What are you expecting tomorrow?
Tomorrow's going to be interesting. You've got a Calgary Stampeders team that's directly behind the Riders in the standings. Obviously, a chance to create some separation and then head into the to the Labor Day back-to-back against the Bombers, and create some more separation there. I think that the main storyline here, or at least for me, is the fact that this is a redemption opportunity for the Saskatchewan Roughriders that were out physicaled in Saskatchewan during the replay edition of the game. So it's such an opportunity for these guys to get out there and correct the things that they saw on tape when they first played the Stampeders. Obviously, I think that there's a few. I think they have a couple injuries, but I do know that Damien Alford's back, for instance, for them. So I would expect the best effort. I think that Calgary knows that they'll probably see Saskatchewan in some way, shape, or form, playoff-wise, at some point. So to get out here against the Riders again and potentially push their physicality on them again, that would be big. So Saskatchewan, I think, obviously it's not the only thing you think of when you have a game where you do want a little bit of redemption, but that was probably the biggest difference between the two squads in the first edition of this game.
Okay, let's say you're the color commentator for Montreal or Toronto right now. So, put an impartial hat on and going back to the old quote, your record is what it is and says what you are. Are the Riders 8-1 good?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the defense hasn't allowed a touchdown in 2 games. The offense is incredibly efficient, and I think they're getting great coaching. I think one of the things that doesn't get talked about enough is the job that Mark Mueller's done. I think Edwin Harrison is doing an excellent job again. He was probably the assistant coach of the year for the Riders last year, and this year the offensive line looks just as good, and they've had to tinker with that rotation this year early on as well. Again, I go back to Mueller. I think he's just done a masterful job. Him and Trevor seem to be on the same page at sort of every corner. But more importantly, the way this offense has fed off of the threat that A.J. Ouellette has been awesome. We saw it in Hamilton. We saw it in Montreal. The threat of A.J. Ouellette being able to carry the ball 5 yards at every single touch forces teams to stay in on the play action passes, to pause on that line of scrimmage on the run pass option plays, the RPO plays, just a little bit longer. And Trevor is absolutely slicing teams off of those play actions. And then again, when AJ does go and get the football and runs for 4 or 5 yards, Trevor's been deadly in the second down and 6 and less range. So it's been great to see. They're absolutely 8-1. This is a team that is probably one of the best teams in the league when it comes to special teams, cover teams as well. We haven't had the production as of late on the return side of special teams, but again, I think that special teams is going to be huge. Hopefully we can get Dre off today or tomorrow, because I think that one of the keys to a win here is to flip the field, steal those hidden yards here tomorrow versus the Calgary Stampeders. Make the Calgary Stampeders go a long way when it comes to opening their possessions, things like that. So this team is every bit 8-1. It's the best team in the league right now, and there's no bones about it for sure. You've got particularly the last couple games, right? I mean, that Montreal game, that was big. I don't care if it was a backup quarterback, the 6th string quarterback, the quarterback that they found at Laval 2 days ago. That is a tough building to play in, especially when there's that many people in there and they're engaged in a football game. To dominate the Montreal Alouettes in Montreal at home like that was special. And then to come in and really take a surging Ticats team and make them look like it was preseason specifically on offense. This team is every bit as good as people are saying they are. But the nice part is they're not saying they are. They are focused on winning the next game because it's the most important game and saying the right thing. So you just got to continue to harness the things that you're doing well in the practice week and harness those feelings during a week that you had and that you know that you can lean on that made you successful in the games that you've won.
Luke, I asked this question to Corey Mace yesterday, and it intrigues me. Something has to give in this game, and I'm not sure what. You've got two teams that are very good offensively. They're very good defensively. Somewhere there has to be a crack in the armor somewhere for a team to ultimately win and get the edge, but I cannot figure out necessarily what's going to give. I think it's that intriguing a matchup. What do you think is most likely to give, and on the part of whom?
I'm not sure about the give part. I do know that it feels like this is a turnover-based game, right? Where the turnovers stay low, but maybe the team that gives up the first one loses, type of deal, right? That's why I go back to the physical part of this game. So this reminds me a lot of the clashes that the teams that I played on used to experience with the Calgary Stampeders, and that's a good thing for the CFL fans that are out there. But in terms of breaking, I mean, you want to keep the turnovers low. Well, to a minimum, 0. You want to win that battle, but again. One of the things that I don't think that the Calgary Stampeders are going. I don't think you stop the offense of the Saskatchewan Roughriders. I think it's really tough. Like, they're clicking, right? But, and this is a big but, if Calgary can hold the Saskatchewan Roughriders to field goal attempts on their drives versus, the Riders being able to cross the goal line with the football, that would be huge because on their side, they've got a killer. They've got an absolute murderer in Rene Paredes, and that guy has been doing it his whole career. I feel like if the Calgary Stampeders don't shut down the Riders' offense, do they keep them out of the end zone and keep this game to kick versus kick, in which they have one of the best ever in Rene Paredes, right? So do they try to keep it low score? I think that I'm just like you, Robbie. I'm so intrigued by this game because of just the implications that one mistake may tilt the balance of a football game, right? And there's none bigger. And I'm expecting a good crowd tomorrow. And when I look at the defensive teams, like, again, you really don't see. I think that it might come down to some of those hidden yards on specials, so flipping the field, and more importantly, which team not necessarily keeps the offense from moving, but which team limits the teams to the field goals versus crossing the ball with the goal line. That might play into this one a little bit more than usual.
Answer this, and more from the defensive side as a former player. Why did teams have so much success running scripted plays, as like Hamilton did when they came out?
Well, when you script plays, defensively or offensively, I think that obviously you're scripting them based on what you know about your opponent and what your opponent wants to do. So essentially what you're doing is you're coming out and you're saying, we want to be this way today conceptually. So we're going to run a few of these plays in order to test out whether what we've seen on film is truly what we're going to get. And I don't mind scripted plays. I mean, I don't think you should look too much into them, right? I mean, scripted plays are great, but again, once you have success or you don't have success running them, you still got 60 minutes to play after that, right? So I think that scripted plays do a really good job of just identifying your opponent and what you see, validating some of the things that you thought were on film and you thought you could put in the game plan, right? So let's say, hey, we got these 5 plays here that we're going to run right off the bat, and then we're going to run these 3 in our first this play we're going to run in our first, second, and 7+ situation. This play we're going to run in our first, second, and 3 to 5 situation, and see where we get. And that can be a litmus test for the rest of the evening per se, right? Like when I test my pool, for instance, and I test the levels and chemicals in the pool, I get a read back, and that tells me what chemicals I can put in the pool to make it the best experience for anybody that comes by. Normally nobody, because I don't invite people over and we just hang as a family. But you get the picture, right? You're testing it out and you're figuring out just, did you validate some of the things that you thought you could do against this opponent? And when you run them successfully, it probably feels pretty good, right? Because then you can say, okay, this game plan holds solid. But if you come out there and you have 6 scripted plays, you get to run all 6 and they're a disaster, then you're into plan B and you're saying, okay, well, when we looked at these plays, we built plan Bs off of these plays. We're going to have to go to those right away because this team is doing a really good job against what we thought we wanted to be.
How long did you hold your breath last game when Trevor took that hit late? And how quick does Mace pull him the next time that happens when they got a spread there in the fourth quarter?
That was a big hit. I actually listen. I think Trevor Harris he's a tough kid. I think that it didn't really swear. I thought it was a big hit, but I wasn't really worried for him. I was more concerned. I think it was the quarter before when he was running the football. That's where he's gotten himself into trouble, right? When he's been back in there in the pocket, he's a tough kid to crack. So I wasn't necessarily worried. I was glad they pulled him out of there. It was probably time. And honestly, it was probably that part of the field where they were going to pull him anyways. I actually think that the hit definitely validated Mace wanting to take him out, but I think he was going to take him out next play anyways, to be honest with you, because that's just where they were.
I don't know about that. Go ahead.
What does number 95 Luc Mullinder make of the 2 teams' defensive lines? I get the feeling you would have had a wonderful time playing on either one of those defensive lines the way they are both performing.
I love our defensive front, and the reason I love our defensive front the most is because that's a complete defensive line. Mike Rose has added such a dimension. He's given the ability to. Mike Rose has come in here, and teams can't just sit there and try to beat up on Micah on second down, right? You've got to be aware of where number 42 is. This defensive front, I mean, the guys on the end, they're starting to really roll. Shane Ray, over the last couple games, has looked great. I think it's taken him a few weeks to just sort of get himself acclimated. I think Scoop's playing probably the best that he's ever played in his career. Somebody should ask him that, but that's just the way I feel. I think that this Malik Carney version is better than any Malik Carney that we saw in Hamilton, and that's a great thing. But again, quarterbacks aren't able to really pick a soft spot in that defensive front, and they're getting there with 4, right? Like when you're seeing pressure off the edge with Carney, Shane Ray, quarterbacks are stepping up, but they're stepping up right into the face of a pass rushing defensive tackle who can't be blocked. And the best part about it is you've also got Haba Baldonado. You've also got Caleb Saunders. I think that Benoit, the more reps he gets or continually, you've got Patrick, number 91, who we haven't seen a ton of, but we know has some talent. This is a very deep defensive line, and it's a joy to watch. But Calgary's got some studs too. I don't think they're as deep. I think that that's definitely the strength of the Saskatchewan Roughriders defensive line compared to the rest of the league as well. Is the rest of the league's got some studs up front, but I feel like this team has studs all up and down. Like Baldonado and Saunders, they could start in any other team in this league, right? And that's what you want. You want guys that when they're in the game and they're giving you, whether it's 5 to 25 snaps a game, you want no drop off. And they don't have a drop off when Baldonado's in there, when Saunders is in there. So it's been great to see. And I think that they just need to continue to keep it up. And the more they can get there with 4, the more they get to dedicate into coverage, right? The more multiple they can be. They're a threat in any type of situation that they're put in these days, and that's a good thing. And it gives obviously Corey Mace an outstanding just array of things that he's able to do, right? If he was back there and he was only able to get pressure with 5 to 6 to 7 guys, that would limit everything that the Riders are, right? But no, he's kept them back there with 4 as of late, and they've got the job done. So it's been great to watch, Robbie, man. I can't remember since I've been in this role. I retired in 2013, and then I can't remember when I got into the color role, but I was doing a little bit. Like, this is one of the better D lines, I think, or at least one of the D lines I've enjoyed watching the most.
Well, 2013 was the last time the Riders had more sacks over a 3-game span. They had 17 over 3 games that year, 16 over 3 games in this current juncture. So the parallel you raise is really perfect there.
And that was a cheat code defensive front too, right? They had Chick back there, they had Foley, they had a great pass rushing tandem there with McIlvain. They had Thierryus George. They were solid in the interior, and they had Sholo. And Sholo doesn't get enough credit for his pass rushing ability. He was a good pass rusher, man. He wasn't a Scott Schultz, but he went in there and got it done when he needed to, man. So shout out to Keith Sholigan. But you're right, that defensive front was a beast as well. And anytime you have a good defensive line, anytime that you got a deep defensive line, you've got a chance to win a championship.
How risky is it to even send extra people and go beyond rushing with 4? And when you look around this league and you see Rourke, and you see Cody Fajardo burn the blitz for a winning touchdown in Montreal.
Good question.
There's Trevor, there's Colaros, there's Bo Levi Mitchell, etc. There's so many wily quarterbacks there's VA. There's so many quarterbacks who can make you pay the moment you play your hand by sending any more than 4. Am I correct?
You have to understand the risk reward, obviously, right? But there's a way, as long as all of your guys understand the way you're blitzing, you're going to be okay. So I'll give you an example. The Riders they'll line up, 7 on the line of scrimmage. That means they've got no safety. Everybody's in man, right, across the board, even if it's like 2nd and 5, all right? That might seem like a risky proposition right off the bat, right? Because the opponent's going to bring 1 to 2 players more than you're able to block. But as long as the defensive backs, for instance, know that in this situation, the ball has to come out quick. As long as the defensive backs know that if they hold this ball, the quarterback's going to get popped, because there's no way that the offense, whatever they have in there, can block long enough, then they get to be able to jump the football, for instance, right? You just have to understand the situation. That's why football is the ultimate team game, right? If I know that, you know what, this is risky, we don't have a safety back there, but the quarterback is not going to have very long at all because of the way we're blitzing. That means he's got to throw, or he's going to get sacked or smacked. That means that if he looks to his first read and chances are he's going to throw that ball. I can jump this, right? I don't have to worry about the pump fake here, because if he tries to pump fake, we're going to kill him. He's going to be in the hospital, right? So that's the nice part about, because you're right, Robbie, we've got some great quarterbacks, right? But we also have smart defensive backs, and that's what you need. You need to understand the defensive backs and the linebackers. Everybody just needs to understand the timing that the quarterback is actually going to have in the blitz that they're calling. Or they have to understand, hey, you know what, this is a risky look, but really if he doesn't throw to this guy at first, he's got little options. So I might be able to take a chance or two here, right? You just have to understand how your position works within the rest of the blitz. And I think that's probably, we saw Hamilton doing it. We saw Saskatchewan do it quite a bit, but that's where you see some of the experience that guys like Marcus Sales have, Roland Milligan, right? Definitely Tavon Campbell, who's taking advantage of that situation. These guys understand, hey, look, if this quarterback doesn't throw this ball here, he's hit. So I can take a chance. You know what I mean? He's not going to have a chance unless he breaks outside of the pocket on a miracle play and just lobs it down. We can give him that one. But this guy's got zero opportunity right now. He has to throw the ball so I can actually play this understanding that the cards are in my favor and not in his.
Okay, we're running out of time here. This is a quick one. Last time these two teams played, AJ Ouellette had 9 yards. What kind of odds would we get? AJ Ouellette under 10 yards, what, plus 50,000?
Under 10?
Again. What would the odds be? It's not going to happen.
Over.
Come on, everyone in the world would be. Like, it's still baffling to me how that happened.
Well, no, it's not. It shouldn't be baffling to you at all because their defensive coordinator is Bob Slowick, and this guy's got all the experience in the world, right? Bob Slowick is the guy, and you saw it right away. As soon as the Saskatchewan Roughriders lost to Calgary, what did everybody else do? They loaded up the box and just said, we're going to take AJ Ouellette out of the game, right? And I expect them to try to do that again. Why wouldn't you? If it worked the first time, see if it's going to work twice, right? Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, I'm an idiot, right? So let's go with that scheme, figure it out. I do think, though, that the Riders are going to come with I think the Riders, you don't need to be different. You don't need to be different. This isn't a game where you come in, you throw like 6 trick plays in and roll with that. You just got to be more physical. And that's why I think that this game is going to be so good because these teams are 2 evenly matched teams.
I would think AJ would get 10 yards just falling over 3 or 4 times, just getting the yard. And I thought for sure you were going to do the George Bush there. Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me, you can't fool me again.
Yeah, no. I'm not going to make that same mistake. I do have one thing, though, and I know that we got to go. You know, I've watched a lot of TV this week, and I get the AJ, the Thor deal. But, man, if anybody's watched WWE as of late, AJ Ouellette looks a lot more like Brock Lesnar than Thor. All right? I want to throw that out there to folks, man.
Marysburg, Saskatchewan. No, where does he live? He lives down
somewhere in this province.
Somewhere in this province. I heard you're going out for
something.
I heard Farhan Lalji's picking up supper for you guys. Are you guys going to Pete's Drive-In?
Pardon? Oh, Farhan's? Oh, man, yeah, I don't even know what's happening for dinner, man.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm going to be honest with you. I didn't even know if I was getting on the plane about an hour until it left. So
maybe you guys are going for...
I'm just here hanging on, fellas.
Maybe you guys are going for something French this evening in Calgary. All right, buddy, have a good call. I know what you're doing Monday. Maybe we'll join you on Monday. Join us on Monday again.
All right, we'll do.
Okay.
Have a good show, guys.
Right on.
Thanks, Luke.
Color commentator Luc Mullinder.